Well, this is Tim Ginsky, and this is Ourlympics, my YouTube channel that I'm doing this Olympic interview with today from someone across the pond in the UK, a country near and dear to my heart, having lived there for a few years with my family and have a lot of friends over there. I'm joined by Vicky Gosling, who's the CEO of GB Snowsport. She's going to talk about her role as CEO and GB Snowsport's mission and how that relates to things like the Olympics and Olympic athletes, specifically in the UK. So welcome, Vicky. I'm so grateful that you made time here. It's Friday, the 19th of December. Christmas is upon us. Everybody's busy, and you carved out 30 minutes for us.
My absolute pleasure. No, it's great to speak to you. So thank you for making the time as well. But yes, so my role is Chief Executive of GB Snowsports, which is the national governing body for the Olympic and Paralympic disciplines for snowsport across all of the different snowsport disciplines.
Well, we'll step back, before GB Snowsports. I told you I wanted you to talk about your background with the RAF and how that maybe was a stepping stone to GB Snowsport, and your awards from the Queen, from the government, the officer of the member of the British Empire, and a member of the British Empire, MBE, OBE, for my American friends that don't understand that necessarily. I'll let you talk about that a little bit. But let's go back to your RAF career before you got to GB Snowsport. What were you doing for the Royal Air Force, and how did that lead to those awards?
No, so I was blessed. I had a great military career, and whereby I was deployed all over the world in a 21-year period, so quite a lengthy period, with my last job being the base support commander for a helicopter base, which is in Oxfordshire, as a group captain. So in the US, that's a colonel. So I finished my my career at that level, and then I went on to help Prince Harry set up the Invictus Games, and came to America actually as the chief executive of the Invictus Games in Orlando. But going back, my awards, the first award was on the back of my deployment to Iraq, well, to the borders of Iraq, to be fair, and the second, and my services to Royal Airforce Waddington, and the second award was for my services to Royal Airforce Benson, which is the helicopter base where I was based, and to Adaptive Sports as well. So they were the awards that I received while I was serving.
So talk about the first award. That was 2004, correct?
Correct. It was after I had a fairly lengthy deployment in 2003 on the back of the invasion into Iraq. So following that deployment, and I was awarded my MBE.
And then in 2014, you received the second award. And what were the specifics tied to that award?
So the specifics were the services that I gave to Royal Air Force Benson. So I was based at Royal Air Force Benson, which is a helicopter base during a particularly busy period of operations with Afghanistan and Iraq. And I helped set up a facility called the Combined Services Adaptive Sports, which was providing adaptive sport facilities for our wounded, injured and sick servicemen and women. So I did that as a side role whilst I was doing the commanding officer role at Benson.
Well, congratulations, and that's wonderful work. And I can see why the government acknowledged your work in both those cases. Thanks you for serving your country as well in Iraq. And so you have a military background, and you know how to lead clearly, and how to organize and administrate. And the executive body, the board at GB Snowsport, obviously looked at you as a candidate, and that's primarily a sports-driven mission that they're on. What did they see in Vicky Gosling where they thought she is a great candidate to lead our mission?
I think I'm probably blessed with quite a few different skills that lend themselves to elite sport. So I'm quite visionary. I'm very much about, when I looked at GB Snowsports, it needed some transformational change. And so within the military, we're so used to effectively identifying a mission that needs achieving. And in this case, it was actually taking snow sports. At the time, there were 4 Olympic disciplines, and transforming our sort of British winter sports into, well, the federation, into an organization that could actually deliver Olympic medals and Paralympic medals and become a world-class force for good, really. So the mission was very much clearly laid out, and I think that they saw that I had a lot of drive, I had passion. I tend to be quite sort of look at things in a different way, but with a fairly unconquerable spirit. And they I guess they picked up on that and figured that I'm used to getting people to, or helping people, really go on a journey and create some great results. And, the combination of what I'd done within the military and that what I then did with Invictus Games, I think transferred really well into what we needed to happen in snow sports.
We'll circle back at the end. I want you to talk about Invictus and your rugby, responsibilities, but staying on the GB Snowsports theme. So how long has GB Snowsports existed as an organization? You joined them as CEO in 2018?
Yeah, so when I first joined them, it was an organization that was called British Ski and Snowboarding, and it just looked after the 4 main Olympic disciplines for the elite level of the Olympic discipline. So the athletes that were competing at that standard, at the Olympic standard, but purely in alpine, in freestyle ski and snowboard, and in cross country. So when I came in with the combination of myself and the performance director, we looked to set a punchy vision, which was to become a top 5 nation by 2030. And in doing so, extended the disciplines. So brought in border cross, ski cross, moguls. We also merged with the para snow sport disciplines. And we rebranded to what is now GB Snowsports. With this really, as I say, very punchy mission for a nation that has no mountain ranges and not much snow. And so we then went on this journey, and we've been on this journey over the past 7 years, which has effectively taken us the previous 100 years before I came in. I think we had 1 world champion and no crystal globes. And we're really proud that in the last sort of 7 years, we now have 10 world champions and 18 crystal globes. So we have, we set a strong punchy mission, and we're hopefully heading on the right trajectory to get there.
Isn't that amazing what leadership and funding can do with things like Olympic sports? And it doesn't matter how big you are. Norway punches way over their weight with 5.5 million people. Everybody knows that. But I alluded to this, with the questions to your team weeks ago. Most Americans or people in general don't realize that Great Britain sort of had a low in the Summer Olympics in '96 in terms of medal counts. The country London's hosted the Olympics 3 times, one of the few cities in the world that's been a host 3 times, and Great Britain has this incredible Olympic legacy going back to 1896, and yet they won 1 gold medal in Atlanta. But then things changed, and it started at the top with Prime Minister Major, partnering and creating the lottery as a funding mechanism. And now you're doing it, the same thing really with winter sports, GB Snowsport, and then what's the second national? The lottery funding is also for the winter Olympic athletes as well?
Yes. Yeah, so within the Winter Olympic athletes and the different federations, you have GB Snowsports, which is the largest, and then you have bobsleigh and skeleton. You had another federation. So I effectively say you've got the snow sports, and then you have the ice, and then you've got curling. Is a federation. You've also got skating is a federation, and ice hockey as a federation. Plus, we have biathlon, which is a very small federation, but we run all of the different snow sports under the GB Snowsport umbrella. And the National Lottery provides funding for each of those, but we get a minimal amount. So I think compared to my US counterpart Sophie, we were talking. I think it's something like 60 million for the US, and we get 1.7 million for the UK.
So still a delta, but you've obviously been able to do a lot with the funding that you've got based upon the results. So this is, I think, the part you probably would enjoy the most is we talked about you talking about some of your athletes, some of the people that have had success and that we should be looking out for in about 45 days in Milano-Cortina. Can you talk about some of those men and women that you're excited about?
Yeah, I can. I mean, it's difficult to choose because there's so many that are exciting now, and who'd have thought we'd have been here? But when you look at the current world champion cohort, so we have Zoe Atkin in halfpipe. So she's currently #1 in the world, having won that world championship medal, and she's just won a silver actually last week in China in the halfpipe. We've got Mia Brooks, who was the youngest world champion at age 16 in freestyle snowboard. And she won a gold medal again just over a week ago in China. She's now 18, but she's extremely exciting to watch, both in slopestyle and big air on snowboard. You have Kirsty Muir, another gold medalist from just a week or so ago in China again, and she's freestyle ski. A superb athlete to watch both in freestyle ski big air and in freestyle ski slopestyle. Charlotte Banks has been the world champion both as an individual, and she's also been the world champion in the team event for border cross. Again, she's just won a gold medal at the weekend in Chavinia in the border cross team event with Hugh Nightingale. So super exciting to watch those athletes in action. We've also got in cross country, we had a top 6 with Andrew Musgrave at the weekend in cross country. And if all 4 individuals of the men's team end up going to the Olympics and doing the team relay, that will be the first time we've done that men's team relay since 1988 in Calgary. So we're super excited because they're very, very strong. And then when you look at our alpine team, and you look at the 3 men doing slalom as it is at the moment, you have Dave Riding, who most people know. He was 7th in Levy a couple of weeks ago. Laurie Taylor, who was 4th in Levy a couple of weeks ago. And you also have Billy Major, who'll be competing for it, who's consistently sitting in the top 30. And we also have Reese Bell, one of the ladies coming through. We don't know whether the ladies nobody's actually been officially qualified yet. That happens on the 19th of January. But I would hope to see, we've got Reese Bell, you've got Vicky Palla, other females in Alpine. So, we've got a really good cross section. And then when you look at moguls, you've got Kayla Gerken-Schofield, who's phenomenal. She's always sitting around that top 8 in moguls. And Matteo Ginason is the junior world champion in moguls. So he should be really exciting to watch, and particularly Jules moguls. So, yeah, I mean, I've probably missed quite a few off, but that's just a smattering of some of the athletes that we've got that we're super excited to be tuning in and for people to watch.
Well, I'll be writing an article for Forbes about the UK Winter Olympic team and hopefuls, UK hopefuls. And I am going to be writing an article separately about you and your journey. So there's 2 stories coming out of this. So I'm taking notes on all these people. Can you talk a little bit about any of the coaches? Because your funding is involved with supporting the athletes, which, indirectly includes the coaching personnel. And do you get involved very much in looking for world-class coaches, to pair up with these athletes? Because that's another piece of the puzzle.
100%, Tim. And what's happened here, and I think this has been one of the transformational elements of our success, is that we realized pretty early on that actually we didn't necessarily have those world-class coaches within the UK across all of the different disciplines. And so we very much looked to the international stage to see where we could find these world-class coaches. And the reason being that is, if you've delivered on the world-class stage, if you've delivered gold medals, silver medals, Olympic medals, world championship medals, then you know what it takes to win. And so we have sourced, some of our coaches from, for example, Jostein is a Norwegian coach, one of the best in the world, is coaching our Alpine team. We have Jérôme Chupin is coaching our border cross team. He's from France. We have Jeff is actually a Canadian coach for moguls, again, one of the best in the world and highly recognized. We've actually got Alan Baxter and Jai, who are Alan's well known for Alpine. He's coaching our men's Alpine team. And so you look across the spectrum, and then you've got Ben Kinnear and Jamie Matthews in the freestyle, coaching our freestyle team, along with we've got Joe Schuster actually is coaching Zoe and Sail over in America. So we're very dispersed because we're decentralized, and our coaches are decentralized as well, but we're hyper connected. We're just one phone call away. And I think that is also part of our success, in that the umbilical cord is quite tight. So despite the fact they operate in different countries around the globe, and we have 12 different programs operating, if you include Paralympic programs, we all have the same values, and the fundamental values and the basic ways of operating are all the same. So we have a great connectivity, a fantastic culture, and I think again that's something that's really reaped the benefit. And there's a huge big sense of one team, one family, and we have the same GB Snowsport DNA in the way that we operate, which makes it really exciting and a great place to work.
Yeah, that's really leadership. That's really what they are hiring you for. In a lot of ways, it's not just to go out and find people that want to put money into the mission. It's creating a culture and a DNA, like you said, where the best coaches want to come and coach your athletes because you're already doing things that they like. It's in every sport. I think about men's and women's football. We stole your best women's coach for the U.S. women's football team, soccer, and the UK's had a few coaches from other countries that have had a lot of success at Man United and places like that. So, there's nobody has a monopoly on talent, and you go and do what you need to do to get good, including bringing in people from other places and countries. But technology allows you to have this connectivity through Teams calls and things like we're doing if you can't get in a jet.
It's so true. And the other thing is, I think, my military background's helped a lot in that within the military, we call it mission command. So you delegate the responsibility to your team leaders. And that's what we do with our coaches. It's all about empowering them, so enabling them to actually be decisive on the ground, and enabling them by making sure they have the right resources. So is it the equipment? Is it the nutrition? Is it the physio? And then I see it very much as my job to remove distractions. So if there's white noise, all the things that tend to take your focus away from performance, we tend to ensure that we're pulling those away from the coaches and the athletes so they can focus on doing what they do best, which is performing in a really healthy way. So winning well is the way that we also phrase it.
Well, I wanted to circle back to rugby and Invictus and those other things when you're not busy and you have these other things that when you get bored, I don't know when you have a day off, but would you talk about some of, your other passions that you're involved with?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm really lucky. So I sit on the Olympic board, on the British Olympic board. So I get a great insight from all the different disciplines across the summers and the winters. I also look after GB Surfing. So I'm the chair of GB Surfing. So that's an entity that's building up. Actually, in fact, we've just taken the head coach for that from Australia because he's world class into our surfing entity. But I'm the chair for that. But that role has been very much building out the Olympic body to hopefully enable us to have surfers both in LA and subsequently in Brisbane. And Invictus, it's very close to my heart. I helped build that in the beginning as the military executive lead when I was a group captain. And I subsequently came over to America to help build the brand and put it on the global stage in the USA as the chief executive. And we took it to Orlando And I'm also going to be the chair of the Invictus Games, actually, because it's coming back to Birmingham in 2027. So I've got a bit of time in between. I said at 26 is my year for the Winter Olympics. 27 is the year for the Invictus Games, and 28 is the year for hopefully the Summer Olympics with surfing. So it definitely keeps me occupied with my 3 children too. And rugby was, yes, I was involved in helping world-winning captain John Schmidt from South Africa build something called the Rugby Centurions, which was a platform for the men and women who've received 100 international test caps or more, of which when we started there were 53, and now I think there's more like 106. So that's been great fun. But that was building a foundation using the values of those rugby players. Who have, selfless commitment and courage and similar values to the military, really. So I've had tested my fingers in different sports, including actually horse racing. So I sit on the board for Aintree race course with the Jockey Club, which is really good fun. That's a bit of a passion project too. And I've got 3 children, which keep me super busy. So I don't think I ever get a day off, or I can say that I'm bored.
Yeah, for those of us with kids, I have 4 adult children, and I'm realizing it just gets more complicated with the holidays and things, trying to organize who's where. So you're up early like we were this morning here. I'm in LA. My wife and I trying to figure out the calendar at 5 a.m. because everything's coming very fast over the next, several days. So would you talk lastly, just really quick, about your own personal interest in athletic sports? If you had a sport or a background, that you personally have done as an athlete.
Well, when I was in the Air Force, I used to play tennis for the Air Force, which was really good fun. So I played a lot of tennis over my years. But in the Air Force, I've also done, I managed the RAF ski squad, which was probably why I ended up looking at snow sports. And my daughter is she's playing off a scratch handicap at 14, so I'm quite passionate about golf. I can't say my own handicap is anywhere near as good as hers, but really for me it's more about I've done a lot of sports over the years. I'm probably a jack of all, master of none, as we call it. So I've never taken it to the level above county. I've kind of played tennis, I've played hockey, I've played netball, and been involved in numerous sports, and that's where my passion has been. But I certainly aren't. I'm definitely not at the standard of any of our athletes. I have to confess. But I do enjoy. I do know what high performance looks like, probably through some of the environments and the operational environments I've operated in with the military has definitely helped me focus on what elite performance looks like.
Well said, and that's a good place to end the interview. And I know that too from my own experience. I did rowing, 8-man rowing, and at a university here that has high-level rowing that won Henley the year that I came there to university for
Amazing.
the 8-man heavyweight, which is hard to do. And I had 2 Olympic athletes in my class, in my boat for Canada and in the U.S., 6 years later in 84. Both athletes showed up in their boat, and I saw what it took. I did a lot of it, but then I saw its talent combined with the training, and it is a long path and a lonely path at times. I don't care how much glory and success there is at the end. So I like you, I have the utmost respect for all these people, whether they make it to the games and they don't medal, or it's such an amazing achievement what you're helping these kids do just to get there. And I will be cheering for your athletes I'm going to write about.
I love that, Tim. And I think what the one mindset change we've had in the time that I've been watching it is that, the British athletes have been really, really happy to find themselves at the start line. I think now they expect to be at the start line, and it's more about the winning, which is an incredible transformation. And so I'm glad you'll be rooting for us, and we'll give it everything we can.